autism isn't real. You can't have a hyperfixation because I'm the one who has all the hyperfixations.
I'm
You can't
holding
have
them in
they're
my
mine.
little box.
You can't have them. They're mine.
You can't have any hyperfixations. Not because you're incapable, but because Peter's being fucking Autism Georg over here and eating all of them.
Ooga booga.
Ah! Welcome to the podcast.
The scariest podcast you'll ever meet.
In August, maybe.
In August.
Depending on when this is released.
In August of 2024.
I'm Alina.
I'm Cole.
I'm Peter. And today we're no longer jesters.
No, we're spooky now. I may have turned off the shading, but we're spooky now.
I really hate to break this to you guys, but like, there's a lot of people on the internet that are like pretty horny for certain jesters, and yes, that includes like the grimdark ones. So I'm just letting you know.
Why do they got so many horns?
I'm leaving.
Don't leave. God. We need you.
Not that much. It's just like,
Yes.
I mean, for this one,
We need you.
okay. Multiply my salary of nothing by 2 for double nothing.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
There you go, buddy.
Got a rate.
Now you're making a whole $0.
And 0 cents.
Just like the rest of us. But double this time. So it's
Double.
$0 and 0 cents.
Yeah, you're getting paid twice. You get 2 paychecks that have $0 and 0 cents on them.
We're getting sent blank checks that just like they put the crossed out so you can't write anything.
It's not a blank check, like it's got just the signature on it. It is a voided check. It can't be used for anything.
It's just got like a frowny face on it.
I mean, a big and a frowny face would make a check invalid. So.
Yeah.
It's gotta be really
the silliest invalid check.
The silliest invalid check. Draw a little jester's cap on it.
It's a stamp of like a frowny face, and under it says no money.
No money.
No money. Anyway, we're spooky today. We're scary today.
Triple my salary to 430 million fun bucks a second.
No.
God damn it. What am I going to spend all this Monopoly money on?
Nothing.
Sorry, I'm done with the bit now. You can be scary now.
We're scary. We're spooky.
Well, I guess not us specifically. We're talking about
we're
stuff.
scary and spooky. It's us. Totally. Anyway. Today our topic is about horror movies versus horror games. How are they similar? How are they different? What sort of tropes are thrown into each? What are some examples of good and bad of each? Whatever is the thing we go with.
And whatever we come up with in the next few hours.
Trying to insert tropes more. We'll get there.
In this troop of tropes.
Especially considering we're not talking about a specific franchise or plot.
The name's just
That's what you think, but today's episode is actually about Baldur's Gate 3.
Specifically, it's about
Peter, I'm going to break your computer with a sledgehammer.
Baldur's Gate 3 Act 3.
Oh, okay. But yes, so. Anybody want to start? Or do I need to start? Who's starting? Where's this conversation going?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Where the fuck is the ship going, says the navigator.
Okay. Let's start with horror movies.
Okay.
Start with horror movies. What
Great.
what are some of your favorite horror movies? Tell me. Share your secrets.
I don't actually have a hat in this ring. I've never actually seen a horror movie in my life.
Okay, so this is mine. All right. That's a bit of a problem then, because I have a bit of a bias.
I've seen a horror movie, probably.
Okay, good job, Cole. I'm proud of you.
No, Alina, come on. Okay, you gotta remember, we're both cowards.
Peter literally said we should do this topic instead. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I figured I'd contribute more in the horror games front.
Okay, so I'll pull the weight in the movies. That's okay. That's fine. So
unfortunately, Peter and I are also chronic gamers, so
I've noticed. Anyway, horror movies.
You know my secret.
It's not a secret. It's really not.
We're just silly little gamers.
That's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it ain't a secret.
My hidden alter ego. Gamer.
And so say your full username right now.
No.
No. There's got to be some kind of intrigue.
Yes. Anyway, horror movies. Here's the thing. I have an interesting relationship with horror movies because every time I've tried to watch one, I just get bored. Like, I don't know if it's because the internet has numbed me to such Hollywood-based horrors or what. I just, they never do it for me. I've never had a horror movie actually scare me. It's weird. It's very weird, but that doesn't change the fact that I've seen some.
Which gives you a leg up over on
Yes.
Doofus 1 and 2 over here.
Now, from my experience, a horror movie... Horror movies are interesting because there's a certain... Like, each horror movie has a different level of spooky, right? Like, some are trying to just, like, give you a little bit of a, oh no, while others are trying to get you to run out of the theater screaming. Now, sometimes this does not go the way the directors planned. For example, every single horror reboot I've seen so far.
I feel like that's unfair, though. Those are kind of predisposed to being bad by nature,
Yes.
being reboots, and therefore just for money.
Well, okay. You can reboot a franchise and it be good, but because the motive is money, it is bad.
Yeah, when the motive is just money, it does
Yes.
not well.
And this is actually not the only case of horror movies being fucked over by money. If you look at
Really?
basically every single silver screen horror movie from the, I don't know, the 70s to the 90s. Basically every single one of them had like 16 sequels. Some of them were crossovers, and a whole multiverse of horror guys going on in that time. And it obviously died because it just kind of got stupid at some point. Like, Scream? Ghostface? He's just a guy. He's just a guy in a mask, like. But there's just so many sequels, and you're just kind of like, it's a guy. Just shoot him.
It's
like,
not the same guy in every Scream, though. I thought it's like,
but like my point
it's
is
a different killer taking inspiration from
yes,
the guy.
like I understand that. My point is that like y'all can't be having this much trouble with one normal dude in each movie. Like, seriously.
Scream in the first. You did also remind me. I have actually seen Scream, and I did like it, and it did scare me. So
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying the first one's bad. I'm talking about the sequels. I'm saying the sequels.
Sure. I've not seen those.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can throw a scary monster on the screen before everybody gets used to it, right? Especially when that scary monster is a guy in a ghost face mask. Like
A guy in ghost face mask is like the thing that made part of the first movie kind of pretty freaky. Is it's two guys.
I don't think that was the case in the sequels.
Probably not.
At least from what I've seen.
In Scream, yeah, in Scream, the first one, Ghostface is two guys. They take turns being Ghostface, I think. It's been a while since I saw it, so I don't quite remember everything. But it's two guys. They concocted like a whole murder plot for reasons. Don't understand. Reasons I don't remember.
So why did you do the murder?
Funny.
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 Funny, haha.
For the Vine officer.
For the Vine officer. But yeah, a lot of horror movies have been ruined by money. Even in the olden days. It's not a new phenomenon.
Before money existed.
Before money even existed.
1984. The year before the year money was invented. Unrelated to the novel by George Orwell.
But yes, the horror movies I have seen are Alien, which objectively good movie, spooky movie. Subjectively didn't scare me, but most horror movies don't. So you don't take that as gospel.
I think the thing. We disclosed like a small personal anecdote of yours that I think will help illustrate how horror movies just straight up do not affect you. It's the werewolf thing.
What? Oh.
No. I think that would better serve to illustrate how it straight up does not affect you.
Personal story, listeners. You get to hear a personal story here. When I was but 2 years old, small child, sitting in the living room, my parents were watching a movie. It was one of those early 2000s weird vampire werewolf movies that they had, where it's like it's trying to be dark and scary, but it's also a vampire werewolf faction movie, so it's most of them fell flat. It died for a reason. Anyway, in the particular movie my parents were watching, there's this scene with this guy, and he's changing into a werewolf. right? And he's going crazy. He's like, oh my god. And he starts like grabbing at himself, and he starts ripping his skin off. He just starts full on ripping himself apart on screen, fully in front of this 2-year-old. And I know what you're thinking. This is a silly werewolf movie. How would this scare anyone? I was 2. It would probably scare a 2-year-old, right? Wrong. You were incorrect, because I quite literally pointed at the man on the screen and I called him, and I quote, "Grumpy puppy." So, even at 2 years old, scary movies did nothing. They did nothing. I did not care.
Why, as a complete and utter coward who can't hear or even think about the Lavender Town theme without getting kind of afraid, I think I am the better audience for horror media. As someone who can be scared easily.
I mean, like, okay, I can be scared. Horror movies don't do it because here's the thing, right? In order to get scared by a horror movie, you have to really get invested. You have to be like, my eyes are glued to the screen. I'm focused. It is a rare movie that I watch like that. Okay, like whenever I watch a movie, and I make sure it's okay with everyone in the room before I do this, obviously, like I'm making jokes about it. I'm talking to other people. Like, I'm making it an event in the room I'm in. So, I'm not glued to the screen. I'm literally, like, unconsciously reminding myself, I'm not in that room with the scary thing. I'm not in that room with the scary thing. My friends are here. I'm not in that room with the scary thing.
They're in the room with the scary thing, and I'm watching them die.
I'm the scary thing.
I'm the scary thing. Let me get my chainsaw.
It's like, yeah, it's this idea of like, the monster's not after me. The monster's after what's his face on the screen, right? So to me, it's similar to a situation of getting chased down by a bear. If it's going after the other guy, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the other guy, obviously, but you know, I'm in.
But what about a teleporting bear?
What about a teleporting bear?
Well,
shit. For a moment, I thought the teleporting bear got you.
No. No. Not at all.
Kind of said that sentence the way a teleporting bear would say it.
Rawr.
Alina was killed and replaced with a teleporting bear.
Anyway.
It's because we're in the wrong timeline.
How would we know we're in the wrong timeline until, you know, the timeline ends?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I don't want to get into it right now. It would take way too long.
Anyway. Horror movies don't scare me. Now, horror
well, it sounds
movies
like rather than don't scare you, it's more like they don't interest you. Like the movies themselves are not interesting enough to capture your attention.
I mean, I'm paying attention to the movie. I get the story beats. I don't feel like I'm in the movie. is the thing.
The fear that I'm getting from horror movies isn't from feeling like I'm in the movie. is because what's being depicted is scary.
That's the thing, it's being depicted. It's not actually happening. I mean, yeah, if it was obviously happening in front of me, I'd be terrified, but you know.
You don't have a healthy sense of fear.
I don't. Anyway.
Work on that.
No.
You should work on it. Should be more afraid, actually.
I'd rather not. Anyway. But yes, there's a particular issue with certain horror movies where they try to rely really heavily on jump scares. And God, do I hate jump scares.
It's been tried to death and back.
Yes, it's to me a jump scare isn't even really a scare. It's more of a
not.
It's just a surprise that you don't want.
Man, I have some takes when we get to like the video game section of this, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
There's been that period of time in horror movies where they were very, very jump scare reliant because they. So the fun thing about horror as a genre is that really popular horror tends to reflect the fears of a given culture at its current state and time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you had like a lot of home invasion movies for a while.
Yeah.
Again, well trodden ground, especially in like horror areas, is that point of discussion of like that's why that was like that, because people in the suburbs were afraid of getting home invaded by mostly because they were some of them are kind of racist about it. So that's why that became so popular with the general audience in America. And I forget exactly the period of time. It's around the time of Scream, I think.
Probably the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Probably 80s.
And
here, I'll look
in
it
the
up.
80s also, like where we do get like a lot of like really good, like extremely classic horror.
1996, I was wrong.
Okay.
Late
80s,
90s.
90s are where we get like a lot of really good and really classic horrors.
That's also the same time period where we got a lot of really bad horror.
Yeah, well, the B-movie horrors are like those are their own fun.
Yeah, but they're not. Those aren't scary.
No.
To me,
they're more Pulp Fiction than anything else.
Yeah, to me, a horror movie fails if it's like if I'm laughing at it. Because it's one thing if I'm just sitting there, like, you know, watching the movie and it's just like, I like the plot, but it's not scaring me. It's an entirely different thing if I'm laughing and I'm not supposed to be. Because like I'm having fun, but I am the opposite of scared. You've completely failed the horror part of the movie. Unless there is a funny bit.
Well, sometimes there's that blending of horror and comedy, and that does happen pretty frequently.
Yes.
Right. I cannot describe to you how horror works if you just like are not affected by the grand bulk of horror media that exists.
No.
I honestly think that just means it's not like a genre that your brain can gork onto, you know?
That's the thing. I like
Use
other
a
horror stuff. It's not the movies. I like video games. I like horror games. Those scare me.
Name a person who's in like our age range that doesn't actively play video games.
Video games? Nobody. Horror games?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. I feel like there's more in our generation that watch horror games be played than actually play the horror games.
The Markiplier watchers.
Me. Hello, every at me.
Hello, every spammed and she spammed me. Oh, we got an Undertale newsletter recently. I'll share it with you guys after.
Okay.
That we did.
Very cool.
For me, there's not actually a significant difference between horror games and horror movies in terms of how afraid they make me. The nature of the fear is different, right? Obviously, in horror games, the fear comes mostly from your lack of control in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's already like a normal fear I have in my daily life. So you also got to like toss a monster in there or something for me.
They've come up with a horror game and it's just you not having control in your life. There is no monster. It's just that.
It's just that. That's come on. Old news. That's already a stressor for me normally. I'm used to it.
Okay, now now I need to know if they made a horror game where you're being chased by the IRS.
Oh no. There's probably one somewhere.
Well, yeah. I don't know. For me, like, of course, the primary difference between video game and any media is the element of control that you have over your own actions, or at least the perceived control you have over them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably like what makes the difference for you, if I had to bet.
Yeah. To me, it's the perspective because with the movie, there's a disconnect. Because I'm just sitting there watching it. But if I'm playing the game, I'm playing
you are the point of view.
Yeah, like if it's in first person, I feel like I am way more in the room than I do when I am watching a movie that has multiple perspectives, none of which are first person. And so that sort of forces you to be more in that environment, and that sort of finally gets the switch to flip of fear time. So yeah, that's my big difference between a horror movie and a horror game.
Mouvet and Game.
And Game, yes.
Movie and Game. But I do think the important thing that is actively like useful to note is the fact that like it is entirely the element of control and perspective. That makes it just like a fully different experience for you. I can hear shit that's spooky and it will destroy me like emotionally.
See, that doesn't happen.
It's just how it is. I am afraid of a lot of things.
I'm aware. Didn't we watch... What was it? Something of the Lamb.
Children of the Lamb.
Something of the Lamb? Silence of the Lamb?
Silence of the Lamb. I was thinking Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn?
I thought
different horror movie entirely.
Didn't we all watch that in like a Discord call once?
I didn't.
You
I
didn't.
did see it on TV though. I wasn't there.
Okay.
I was also not there.
Okay. Yeah, see, like Silence of the Lambs, like it was a good movie. I liked the plot. The scary bits did not scare me. But I still like the plot.
I think a part of the thing as well is like I said, a lot of horror, at least a lot of really popular horror that exists, is a reflection of the fears of the culture at a given time. And so it's really possible that as well that you're just like disconnected from the culture and therefore it doesn't scare you as much as it would other people. I'm also disconnected from the culture. Hello, autism diagnosis. but also am naturally afeared of many things regardless. So it bridges the gap for me.
See, it's really funny because I don't pay really much attention to lay culture. Like it's not something that I'm constantly scrolling for on Twitter or something. But like I made the basically active choice to do that because the current culture is so paranoid about so many things, and it's just like, you all need to chill.
I think that's a part of the reason as to currently why so much modern horror is this like horrific, disjointed series of stuff happening, because there is now more than many other times such a plethora of fears to draw upon, and such a like unified, connected culture via the internet that you can do it through, that it's hard to pull on just like one big one without pulling the entire fucking ball of twine loose.
Yeah.
You know what did scare me as well?
What?
The Magnus Archives horror podcast. This is an audio-only format, and I think it's very effective, at least at delivering the contents of each episode, and the fears themselves. And like thinking about fear as a giant connected ball of twine is what reminded me of that, because it's a mechanic of the metaphysics within the series that fear is a like tangible cosmic force that exists.
Well, I think another thing, like with podcasts especially, is you need to be more immersed in it, unless you have it running in the background, in which case you aren't really absorbing anything if you're running it in the background.
If you really should not run the Magnus Archives in the background, especially not like the end of season 1, or else you're just like writing something or drawing something or doing some kind of work, and suddenly you have like worm noises in both your ears, and it's a thoroughly unpleasant experience. I would not. I would recommend listening to the last few episodes of season 1 without headphones.
Earbuds.
Don't do those without any on speaker. Do it on speaker in private. If you don't want people around.
Put it on a bone speaker. Have my bones vibrate the sound to me directly.
Vibrate the Magnus Archives directly into my bones.
That would be interesting.
And it's something you can do.
And there is there's a cosmic fear entity that plays around with bones a lot. Like a lot.
Yay.
Well, the Magnus Archives, I think, was really effective fear. Like I've seen a lot of people who are in that fandom who talk about not being afraid of other media, having like that one Magnus Archives episode that fucked them up. For a lot of people, it's the computer one. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
I'll talk about it after.
Did it fuck you up?
I don't want to talk about it on, because Magnus Archives becomes like a serialized story after a while. So like that's kind of a spoiler one. I think that's like season 3. So it's yeah. It's really good though. Do give it a listen. It's free.
Wow.
I think what makes fear effective in the Magnus Archives, though, is entirely the audio format, and it lets them do certain things. Like, if you are actively listening, like reading a novel, your mind draws the rest of the picture for you. I know this is about movies versus games, but I couldn't resist the...
That's fair.
It's about horror as... I guess it's more about comparing different formats of horror.
Yeah. It's funny because one aspect of horror that a lot of Hollywood movies just can't seem to do, because they need to have the grand reveal of what's doing all the stuff, is that your imagination can come up with something way worse than any visual CGI practical effect could ever do.
Oh yeah, man.
Right.
I watched a while ago now. I watched the first season of Stranger Things, which I think is arguably horror. I think it's more supposed to be like mystery drama, but it is arguably supposed to have like those horror moments in it.
Considering their main monster is in Dead by Daylight, yeah. So I'm gonna go with this horror.
But I wasn't afraid watching it. I was tense in some of the moments, but like I was never scared. I got honestly pretty wrapped up in like criticizing the narrative flow and like certain character beats instead of being afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think personally that Stranger Things is good horror media, and I think that is a part of it. Is by the end of the first season, basically the core functions of how all this shit works is explained. Not everything has an answer to it,
Yeah.
but like the core functions, at least of how like the upside down works and how 11 has like 11 having like psychic powers and vaguely how she can use them is all not like super explained in depth, but like is all suggested enough to the point where like your mind will fill in the blanks with stuff that does make sense
Yeah.
and not wondrous possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it? I watched A Quiet Place, right? And I love the concept of that movie because
I'm seeing ads for each part of A Quiet Place whenever a new one comes out.
yes, but I'm more specifically just talking about the first one because the other two I don't care about. Like, the first one I watched, and the concept is horrifying. It's this idea of these things that just sort of showed up, and it's like you can't do anything that makes noise or they come and get you, which makes for a very tense movie. Not a scary movie, but a very tense movie. And there's a point where they make a loud noise by mistake. And of course, this makes everything go to shit, as per the pre-stated rules. And they try to do this big reveal of the monster, as they usually do. And it sure is it was just like this semi-humanoid, semi-quadrupedal thing that had like a circle mouth and no eyes. It is very CGI.
I always thought from the noises made in the trailer that they were like bird-like.
No, there are no wings. I wish there were. That'd be horrifying.
I think the idea of like you make a noise and a thing swoops down from above and picks you up and you're gone.
I mean, they did something similar at the beginning of that movie because they had like a little toddler kid, and he grabbed a toy from a store, and he turned
Toddlers are doomed in horror. They never live.
No,
Stupid children.
Stupid children.
But he turns the toy on and it makes a loud noise, and the parents try to go like, no, don't make the loud noise, and then the thing like very vaguely whooshes past the screen and the toddler's just gone. But like it was on the ground and running on all fours.
Like a fucked up dog.
Yeah, it's like a fucked up dog, but a bit
But
bigger.
there's also the like it's not necessarily a rule in horror fiction, but like a suggestion that tends to work a lot is you take something familiar and you fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably why it might be kind of dog-like.
Like I don't know if it was dog. Here, I'll look it up.
But also, like the more we do that, which we've done it a lot, the less it works. You gotta find new ways to fuck up other shit that's familiar. People just get used to it, or as several parts of the internet have shown me, very attracted to it.
Okay. Looking
Yeah,
at
as
it.
we all know, there's several responses to fear. Fight, flight, freeze, fuck.
I think you mean fornication. That's how my teacher put it.
Whatever semantics you want to use.
Okay. I've looked up the Quiet Place monster. And I'm gonna send a picture of him. And I genuinely don't know what this is supposed to be. Like, I don't know. Monkey?
It's like if someone was trying to design a new cordyceps monster from The Last of Us. And failed, kinda.
Yeah, like
I think The Last of Us is really good at being scary. It's not a horror game necessarily, but it is good at being scary.
That's fair.
I mean, it is a horror game by definition, but like, it's not. The zombie apocalypse isn't the scary part.
No, the zombie apocalypse is the scary part. The other people are fine. I'm in a fucking firefight against 15 guys. I'm in my element. I'm moisturized in my lane. Flourishing.
Moisturized?
You put me up against like a similar number of the zombies. I'm shitting myself.
Well, yeah, because those zombies are fucking immortal.
They're pretty spongy because of the fungus.
Fangs. Anyway,
It's like I've not read a lot of horror books, to be honest. I've read plenty of other books, but horror as novel form never really like interested me.
me neither.
Yeah, I think movies fail more often than games because there's the least amount of imagination that the audience has to put into it.
Yes.
And that's why, you know, Magnus Archives as a podcast or horror books.
Or books by author.
By the Stephen King especially. But just in general.
Fucked up, man. I feel like you gotta
require,
be fucked up to be fucked up.
They require more imaginative input on the audience's part, which immerses them more and therefore makes them more prone to being spooked.
Spook.
And I think video games cut an interesting divide in that because, you know, obviously you don't have to imagine a whole lot in a video game because, you know, it's a video game.
Yes.
But at the same time,
the medium is in the title.
But at the same time, you are also it's a different type of video than movies.
Yeah, you're controlling it.
It's more interactive.
You're controlling it, and also it's very much it very much feels like it's happening to you like directly.
Yeah.
As opposed to when a movie you're just a disembodied floating camera.
'Tis I, the fourth wall. Here to observe your woes.
No, those are my walls. Go away.
No.
But now let's talk about the scariest thing in existence, PT.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're starting with like the best thing since sliced bread.
PT is great. It's fucking great. It's horrifying.
Is that all? Is that all we have to say?
I don't know. It's there. Okay.
I don't even know how.
The like PT basically plays on your inherent perception skills, right? Because sometimes it's pretty obvious what's changed in the room, and sometimes it's a very subtle change, but it's a change that you do notice whether you like it or not.
And sometimes nothing changes and you're expecting it to.
Yes. Like it shows you a pattern, and then it changes the pattern, and then it changes it again. And it's that level of uncertainty of what is going to happen when I loop through this goddamn house again that makes it horrifying. And other games have tried to replicate it, and some have kind of gotten there, but PT is a time.
It's also very much there's a constant feeling of anticipation for something to happen.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, part of that's probably because you are literally being watched the whole time, aren't you?
Yes, if you like get into the like game code and change the camera angle or something, you can see that the spooky lady is right behind you the whole time.
That's my wife.
That's my wife.
Every Silent Hill protagonist.
I see Cole's going with the fourth option in the fear response.
Love? Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be fornicate. Could just be love. It's okay.
Yeah, but we gotta fit it with the F's, so it's love.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's FLFOFVF.
Okay, now pronounce that.
Pronounce that.
Hold on. I gotta type it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's good to know. I'll be sure to keep the response in mind.
But yeah, PT sort of played on also like what people expected from horror games at the time, right? Because a lot of horror games, and I think all of them, had either zombies or a big scary monster chasing you, or like something coming after you actively, and you were actively avoiding it or running away from it. In PT, that doesn't really happen.
You know, in other horror games, you have an objective, whether that be just not getting stabbed, or in the case of like Resident Evil, you are progressing through whatever fucked up shit to
just an
get to the heart
underground
of the
facility
problem.
/ castle beneath the police station.
Yeah.
/ village in the middle of nowhere. Village in the middle of nowhere. Village in the middle of nowhere.
Hey.
House in North Carolina. Village in the house in North Carolina.
Village in the house of North Carolina. Castle in the village in the basement of the house in North Carolina. And the police are there. God.
Resident Evil is
It's a time.
It's certainly a time.
And there's Resident Evil movies. And none of them are good from what I've heard.
I didn't even know that there were Resident Evil movies. That's how bad they are.
Yeah.
I think there were Resident Evil movies, if I remember right. I think there is an animated Resident Evil movie that is at least more fun to watch than the bad live action.
You know what? That's fair.
I don't know if it was good or not. It kind of faded from my perception very quickly.
Probably because nothing much happened in it, I'm gonna be honest. Even if it was more fun than the others. The snippets of Resident Evil movies I've seen look extremely generic. So, from what I can tell, it's pretty forgettable. But yes, Resident Evil.
I think it's worth noting as well that PT was just like basically like a tech demo to see if they even could do a game like that at the time.
Yeah, and then it never came to fruition, which is like,
Yeah.
what? No, but it worked though.
Well, it did work, and then there was like, forget what exactly happened, but there was a lot of
look it up.
creative disagreements, at least between important people involved in production.
PT served as an interactive teaser for the game Silent Hills, an installment in the Silent Hill series. After the cancellation of Silent Hills, Konami removed PT from the PlayStation Store and made it impossible to reinstall. Okay, but why?
The true horror aspect of PT, being unable to fucking get it.
Yeah, because fuck you.
Oh, it's because the guy who was, the general synopsis from what I can tell is the guy who, was in charge of it at least, or like basically owned the idea, got fired due to some behind the scenes drama in the company. And in retaliation, he had PT completely removed from anything and you couldn't reinstall it. So that's basically he got fired because of things in the background and it made him upsetty spaghetti.
I think it was something internal at the company.
I mean, I could try to read this long ass paragraph. Okay. Apparently it's nobody really knows what happened. They just know that there was at least a disagreement, at most a drama. The guy got fired because of it, and then in retaliation he took PT off the market. So
what made PT so like if we could resume?
yeah, get back on track.
No, we're supposed to derail this further. This is the Halo 4 episode.
No, it's not. As much as I love talking about Halo, we aren't there yet. Though I could probably actually talk about Halo in this, just not 4. Probably be 1. Anyway.
Is this about the library?
Maybe. No, the level before the library, actually. Anyway, do we want to say anything else about PT?
Aside from the joke I've been wanting to make the whole time we've been talking about it, about PTSD.
Yeah, so that's
it. That's all I wanted to do. We can move on now.
Okay. Cool.
I just wanted to vocalize it.
I mean, we talked about Soma a while ago, but like I feel like most of the actual horror in Soma is when you think about the implications.
The horror in Soma is entirely existential.
Yep.
Like it's
this isn't about the thinky horror. This is about the feely horror.
Feely horror.
The feely horror. Yeah. Cole, I know you're not gonna like this.
Oh God. Okay.
But Five Nights at Freddy's.
My hot take is incoming.
When it first came out, at least, I'm not talking about the horrible plot or anything. That's whatever. I am talking about just the game mechanic itself. Before Five Nights at
I
Freddy's,
have words about the dual mechanics too, but
it's
I'll
okay.
let you go first.
It's okay. Before Five Nights at Freddy's, there was never really a horror game where you were basically stuck in a room and had to deal with the monsters coming and you couldn't like run, right? Or hide. You were just in this room and you had to basically block their entry, right? And this caught on really well with a lot of people because a lot of people were like, what the heck is this? And despite where Five Nights at Freddy's ended up, I feel like the first game, if you ignore all the lore stuff and whatever, is
There
actually...
Sorry, I can't help myself.
It's okay. Is actually like a pretty spooky experience for the time it came out.
I'm gonna restrict my brain because I do agree with you on this point.
Okay.
Because it as much as it like pains my soul to say anything positive about FNAF, the first game and also the second one, I think, and sort of not as much the third one, but definitely the first two, I think had a really good establishment of tone. I think that helped with the fear a lot, right? Despite the fact that most of the like prominent fears were loud ass jump scares that were only really scary because they were loud. What made them actually effective is all of the buildup beforehand. So you're in these like fucked up, decrepit buildings, these old ass robots that are malfunctioning. So it's like, there's some decent fears there that you can toy around with, and it said there's a lot of like really good ambience.
And
third game stops doing that as good, personally, and then it just keeps going down.
I think the one thing that was good from the fourth one, was like
the one
the one thing. Well, because other than that, it's basically the same as like all the others. But the one thing that I liked from 4 was like the listening, just because it's like you are quite literally putting your ear up to what is possibly like the thing trying to kill you and going, "You there? Do I need to close the door?" Like, you can't get more in the danger's face than without dying. And so I liked the transition from like relying on cameras and seeing them move towards you to just being like, I entirely need to rely on noise.
I do like that mechanic shift in 4. Many of the rest of the mechanics of 4 are just weird and cumbersome and serve entirely to just like trip you up.
Like I said, it's the one thing I like from that game.
Obstacles.
And
I really, this is a game design principle to me. I really hate it when design aspects are just obstacles. Even in a horror game, where the point is that things are supposed to be difficult and cumbersome and kind of awkward to use. Like, unless it's done really well, or there is some kind of like benefit that you get. If it's only an obstacle, if it has no other real purpose for existing within the game, from a Doyleist perspective, from an outside of the game's world perspective, then it shouldn't really be there. When we eventually get to the Helldivers 2 video, I am going to be like heaping tons of praise on their like diegetic menus. So to kind of preemptively cover my ass, I'm gonna say the difference between FNAF 4's bad diegetic mechanics and Helldivers 2's. Good job.
Hell's Divers 2's.
Hell's Divers 2's diegetic mechanics is the Helldiver 2's diegetic mechanics actually do they benefit you. They get in your way in various ways, but you are gaining a benefit for a like temporary restriction. you are getting something out of it. You don't really get anything out of the like fucking cumbersome ass shit in FNAF 4. It's just harder than the previous titles for
Yeah.
the only reason of being harder than them.
Mm-hmm.
And like the continued introduction of more and more mechanics as the series goes on. It just the reason that the first one and also the second one work is that they're extremely simple. You are
They're
looking
basically
at
just point and click.
They are point and click games. Which makes sense because that is before Scott made FNAF. He was making like bad point and click adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they're very simple. You're literally just looking at cameras and closing doors and managing your power level, and
Yeah.
that is it. And turning lights on and off.
Yeah.
But that's a part of managing power level. So it's like you have a few mechanics to interact with,
Mm-hmm.
but it's enough that you have to be constantly interacting with them.
Yeah. And
So you are always doing something.
yeah.
But then you introduce more shit to do, and it's like, well, now there's just too much to keep track of.
Yeah. I will say that like 2 seems to feel like that at first, but once you get a hang of the rhythm, because there are a lot of animatronics in 2, but once you get a hang of the rhythm of all the animatronics in 2, like it's actually really easy to do. There's a big difference between I'm putting all this stuff here to like just make this harder for shits and giggles, and I'm putting all of this stuff here as a hurdle at first, but you are going to practice and you are going to get better, and then you're going to get good at it and you're going to feel good about that.
That's kind of a new mechanic too. As far as I'm aware, FNAF 2 only introduces 2 new mechanics, and it is the mask that you can use, and it also introduced
the box.
The
music box.
Yeah, the box, but like there weren't vents in the first one, were there?
No.
Doesn't FNAF 2 also introduce the vent?
Yes, but
the vent is just an extension of an existing mechanic, so that's like half a new mechanic.
Yeah, I would say the 2 main new ones were the mask and the
box.
The mask and the box. And the batteries, I guess, also.
Oh yeah.
Because it wasn't that you were going to run out of power, it's that your flashlight would run out of batteries, or Balloon Boy would be like, you didn't take them. Like,
so, you do have more to keep track of, but it's not at the point where it's overwhelming yet.
Yeah.
And I honestly forget FNAF 3.
FNAF 3 was like... Just so everyone knows, I haven't played any of these. I never really wanted to. But like from what I have seen, 3 seemed to be a lot easier to manage than at least 2.
Well, yeah, because there's only one animatronic.
There's only one actual enemy.
Yeah.
And the rest are hallucinations. If I recall right, the threat you're experiencing is actually dying via asphyxiation from like a gas leak.
Yeah.
Which is why there's a bunch of hallucinations.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, you can actually control where he goes.
I feel like I think FNAF 3 is just weird.
Yeah.
And then 4 has too many things in it going on at once.
Yeah.
Especially because you don't have your tablet and your cameras, so you have to constantly be switching between the various perspectives.
Yeah.
And like similar to like the first 2, you're constantly doing shit, but it feels so much more frantic. And I feel like 4 makes failing not scary, not like a chance for improvement, not like I can do XYZ better next time, but just frustrating. Like you aren't learning anything. There's nothing you can use to improve next time. You just got unlucky. And that can happen in the first 2, especially on like the final nights, the like bonus nights.
Oh god, yeah.
Well, the bonus nights are bonus content.
Yeah, that's
reason.
Like, you want a challenge, kids? Then you go to the challenge. Or like 20 mode or something, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite FNAF game was the one where on night 11 they made you fight Sans in the middle of being jump scared.
Yeah, so like you're being jump scared occasionally during Sans's attacks, and then you just gotta keep up. You also have 1 HP, so if you make a single mistake, you just have to go all the way back to the beginning of the whole game. It deletes your save.
Yep, delete your save, uninstalls the game. You have to reinstall it, replay through the entire thing.
Actually, you can't reinstall it. You get one chance.
Oh, you only get one shot? Is this the one shot episode?
No, we already talked about that.
Joke's on you. I'm gonna add it back in and have a full episode about one shot.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have a full episode of One Shot.
We did not have. I know. We had it was a bit in a thing. I don't remember. We did it at some point in a video.
Metafiction.
Metafiction, right? Yeah. Which is where I talked about a different horror game called Doki Doki Literature Club. You want to talk about subverting expectations?
I don't.
No, this is about feely horror. That is existential horror.
Fine.
I know it's also feely horror. It
also
preys
feely
on your
horror.
emotional responses a lot.
Walking into that room and seeing Siora just fucking
Siora
herself is like, no, Siora, fuck, oh no. The D&D is melding in my brain. Sayori, that's it. Seeing Sayori fucking just fucking hide yourself and you're just like,
I personally am of the opinion that like FNAF Past Game 2 is just not very good horror, and I do despise the trend it kickstarted. Right? I think it's arguable if you can class FNAF as like mascot horror / horror for kids. Right? I think that's a debatable point. I'm not here for that. I am, however, saying that it did inspire a lot of games that are in that category.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I know the first one definitely was not made for, like, it wasn't intended for children, but I think as it went on, he slowly realized his audience was children and started tailoring to that, and then...
What do you mean? Security Breach is like the most mature game I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, I can't believe we have a real toddler here.
Whoa!
I've never seen a toddler capable of growing facial hair.
I saw an opportunity to be really mean, and sometimes you gotta take them.
Listen, as someone who deals with a lot of intrusive thoughts at once, stop. Don't let them win.
Oh, that wasn't an intrusive thought. That was,
okay.
That was an impulsive one.
Okay, understood.
I did actually genuinely think that. And I chose to act on it.
Oh, are you telling me that Yasa Freddy isn't the scariest shit you've ever seen?
What a Freddy!
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. Should I be scared to look this up?
No, it's just Glamrock Freddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just call him Yasa Freddy because it's funnier.
Yasa Freddy.
Judging by Cole's reaction, it worked.
I think the scary sections of Security Breach are when you're dealing with the endoskeletons, because they move when you're not looking at them, and that is just like that's effective. Like, it happens a lot in games. It's effective. That's why.
It's low hanging fruit for a reason.
It's also happened in TV shows such as Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think the Weeping Angels are like
the most popular.
Definitely the most popular. Probably some of the most effective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because it's a 1-2 punch. It's a 1, these things look creepy as fuck and move extremely fast when you aren't looking at them, and then B, the second punch is existential dread. You've been displaced in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those did scare me as a kid. Those did. They actually succeeded.
Over here, you're afraid of the British.
No, I liked Doctor Who. I didn't like the Weeping Angels.
You're afraid of some of the British.
And
Well, okay, the Weeping Angels never actually spoke. For all we know, they could be French.
that's why they're the bad guys.
Wait, no, they're American. Duh, the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, well, there you go.
I forgot about the part where the Statue of Liberty is a giant weeping angel.
That is very that was funny. That wasn't scary.
That was
funny. But could you imagine you like at some point everybody collectively stops looking at like the Statue of Liberty for like a microsecond and then she's just gone.
And then it's just fucking gone.
Yeah. There's gotta be like at least a single instant where it's unobserved and she's like just I don't think she's gone. I think she changes position and is like suddenly reaching down at someone and that someone isn't there anymore.
Not even like it's just like literally like if you're like I don't know, like if you're like on like the top floor of one of the skyscrapers and you're just looking at the Statue of Liberty and you blink and then it's looking back at you and you're like, oh no. That would be horrifying. Statue of Liberty sized weeping angel is not something I want chasing after me. I'm going to be entirely honest.
I don't want any weeping angel chasing after you.
Well, yeah, but like I have at least somewhat of a chance of getting away from the ones that are like my size. Statue of Liberty one is just like I can't get away from that. It's just too big.
That's why you gotta. I feel like the easiest way to save yourself from a weeping angel is just like get on a group video call with a bunch of friends.
It's just, hey guys, why are you calling us?
Guys, it's me.
You're forgetting one of the later established rules of weeping angels is that any depiction of an angel becomes one. So your video call would become a weeping angel.
How would that work?
I'm pretty sure the angel that they see is not the same one that you see.
Yeah, it becomes a separate instance.
Oh no.
Even better, I'm going down and taking down all my friends with me.
Yeah, we're all getting temporally displaced.
We're all weeping now.
And when everyone's weeping, no one is.
And when everyone's time displaced, no one will be.
Except that it doesn't work that way, because once everyone's time is displaced, everything's just fucked.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Oh, but yes, you wanna know what else scared me as a kid? The flood.
Yeah, I know.
Scared the shit out of me. I hated them. I wouldn't play a level that predominantly featured them. I just made my dad do it. But yeah, I know we talked about this in the Halo Combat Evolved episode, but it was extremely jarring when Halo Combat Evolved first came out. And the first half of the game is just, oh, I'm fighting aliens. Oh, I found a ring. Oh my god, it's a big weapon. Unga bunga. And then you end up in this jungle and you go into this basement area and you're like, where'd everyone go? Where are all the Covenant dead? I didn't kill them. And then the flood happened, and then you're like, I can't make like that. It's a subversion of expectation, if you will. Because I was thinking I'm playing a silly alien shooter game, and I'm now in a state of fear that I wasn't expecting until now, at this very second. Obviously,
That didn't get me. But also, A, I knew they were coming, and B, I wasn't a child.
Yes. That's the thing. The issue with a scare like that is, like,
It only works as a core memory.
Yes, it only works like once, right? Because after you know they're coming, you're kind of like, I am.
You know what to expect.
Oh no, it's the flood. I'm gonna get the shotgun. I think I've only ever seen one raw reaction to the flood happening, because there was this. I don't know if I found this YouTuber guy that was like, basically his whole premise was he was a PlayStation guy, and he was playing Xbox games for the first time ever. And he was playing Halo Combat Evolved, and he got to the flood in the library, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't know what's about to happen. It's just, oh no. So, lots of fear from that man, and it was entertaining. Trying to think, what other horror is there? A more recent one that I personally like a lot is Amnesia the Bunker.
I didn't see. First of all, I didn't play it. Second of all, I did not watch anyone play all of Amnesia the Bunker.
Which means we have to skip, because Cole has no concept of amnesia.
I know I've watched someone play all of Amnesia.
Late Dark Descent.
But
I forgot there were more than one amnesia game.
Yeah.
That was the first one. They were the same people who made Soma. I mentioned this in the Soma video.
Were you not paying attention?
Completely honest with you. The Soma video is like, I think, takes the cake for amount of time I zoned the fuck out.
You were exhausted. This is true. You were like not slept at all that day, or the day before.
Yeah. A recurring theme.
But yeah, no, I really like that game. I also haven't played it, but I have watched playthroughs of it. I haven't seen the end of it yet. I probably should. But it essentially it's taking place in World War One. Already not a fun place to be. You're trapped in a bunker. Also not a fun place to be. Like, at least in the bits of the game I have seen, it's almost like there's an effort to hide the monster, which I really like that, because it lets your imagination like sort of fill in the gaps. And as we've previously stated, your imagination can think of something way worse. And I also like, sort of going off of a point you made, Cole, about like having game mechanics that like can be challenging but provide things.
Yeah,
that game is full of that.
It can cripple you temporarily, but like it has to also be useful. You have to gain something for the cost.
Yeah, that game has a ton
or just
of that.
Feels like shit.
Yeah, but the Amnesia the Bunker has a ton of that. Like the light you get is a crank light. So it's like you get the benefit of having a light, but
suddenly so cumbersome to use, you'd rather just not have it.
Yeah.
Because not having it means it's not a mechanic that you have to use.
Yeah. And you can also, like, you're in the World War I bunker, so you have a gun, but if you use the gun, the monster's gonna come to your location, but you can use it to unlock doors. And also shoot at it if it gets too close and you have the spare bullets. And that's the other thing.
It
slows it down, but it gives you a chance to escape. You can get grenades, explosives, like you can get all of this stuff, and all of it has a benefit and a hindrance. And it's basically the player has to sit there and think, is this worth the risk? And I really like that. And they also have a fun mechanic where there's a generator that you have to fill with gas once in a while, or you just lose lights. And the monster likes the dark. So if you want the monster to stay away entirely, you fill up the generator and then you go do what you're gonna do. Because the whole point of the game is to escape the bunker, like to get out. And again, I haven't seen the end of it. I don't know how it ends, but like the beginning of it at least, really well put together. I really like all the mechanics. It's a good horror game. From what I've seen. Could be the ending's terrible. I don't care. The base mechanics are cool.
I don't know if it's the same people at the studio who made Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but Amnesia: The Dark Descent is also a really, really good horror.
Oh god, yeah, that one was great.
While we're on the topic of like horror games from long time ago, Outlast.
Oh, Outlast.
Outlast, I don't super like Outlast from like a horror perspective because I think you are kind of almost too powerless in Outlast. I think you're like too fucked over some of the time. And I did not like Outlast 2 like at all.
Yeah, Outlast 2 was
It's polarizing to say the least.
Outlast 2 went like too far.
It jumped the shark when it really didn't need to.
We can say that, yeah, because like Outlast 1, for a long time, there's like a vague, maybe half scientific explanation for the weird shit going on. Right, for like the way that like people look, like super fucked up, and like they maybe shouldn't be alive still with like all the injuries they've taken, but like they are, and that's weird. But there's like vague, weird, like biochemical explanations that are given through like notes you can find in the game.
Yeah.
That's like some crazy supernatural shit that happens at the very end, and that's fine because like the wall rider section at the very end is like fucking insane. When you're running from that guy, you get like a lot of adrenaline going. So like that's okay, and then Outlast 2 like goes fully hard ass in the supernatural direction.
Demons?
And I just do not know what to make of it.
It just, I don't know. It felt like, okay, I watch Markiplier, as we've established multiple times now, and he has this series called 3 Scary Games, right?
Yes.
3 Scary Games, where he plays 3 scary games. Is pretty self-explanatory. And sometimes it's a good horror game, sometimes it's a bad horror game, sometimes it's a horror game that's so good he goes and makes a whole series out of it. Outlast 2 felt like one of those 3 Scary games that went on way longer than it should have. Because a lot of the games he plays are fairly generic in concept. You're in the woods in a cabin and there's a ghost or a demon or a werewolf or a something out there that's trying to get in, or you end up in a grocery store or a gas station and there's demons outside. Like, all of them kind of follow a pattern, you know? And
it's because like they're all like easy locations to use, right? Like a gas station, a solitary gas station at the edge of the road in the forest or the desert in the middle of the night, manned by like with a single guy for staff.
Yeah, and it's like,
so there's like anyway with no cell reception either, so it's like if anything happens, dependent on this guy, and if this guy isn't here, I'm fucked.
Yeah, but like, you know, and it's like, I get it. You know, you're just making your own little indie horror game. I'm not expecting, you know, the most grand scheme I've ever seen in my life. You know, like, it's fine for games like that, but then you get to Outlast 2, and it's like, we're in the middle of the woods, weird village, demons, weird people, and you're just sitting there like, you know, this could have been like a 30-minute video game, and you've made it like 2 hours. Why? Like, there's a certain point where you get the gist, and then you're just kind of like, yeah, no, yep, no, I get it. Why is it still going? I've figured out the concept. Why are we still here? Just to suffer? It's forgettable, honestly. Fairly forgettable.
Yeah. I'm thinking of some of the other stuff that Mark is playing now.
We're going down the
Cause
list.
no, we're not gonna just run down the list.
I know.
There are two specific people, maybe not two specific people, but two specific sorts of games I want to like point out that I think are like extremely effective indie horror. And one is Germ Food, who made Night of the Consumers, which is retail as hell. It is the retail horror game where you're a new retail worker and you gotta do your job, and it sucks and it's terrifying. But what makes it scary is A, the threat of failure, and B, the horrific stress and anxiety you feel the entire time. It's almost like you're actually working retail. And it's such a great job at like creating a horrible tense atmosphere. You just feel kind of bad. It's very satisfying when you manage to complete a shift because of that. And you can over time like memorize the possible like spawn locations of certain things. You can optimize your route through the store.
I can speed run it.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to if you want to not get killed by your boss at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, isn't it like if you don't finish your stuff, he'll like all the lights go out and he'll just like chase you down?
Yeah. And there's like a subplot going on with like a bunch of missing employees and some murders or something.
Oh, Jay,
I don't
wonder who
know.
did that. Stares at the boss who kills you if you don't finish your job.
Well, he just runs up to you and says you're fired, really all scary like.
Okay. No,
I think it's implied that he kills you though.
You're fired, puts you in a cannon, fires you. Yeah, that one's.
But similarly, I think there's a bunch of games that Marcus played a few games also by the creator Chilla's Art, who did things like The Closing Shift. The Closing Shift is a game where you play as I believe you were playing as a woman barista, and you just get stalked by a guy.
Oh, I remember
that's
that
what the
one.
game is.
That one's terrible.
It's fucking horrifying.
It is.
But it's what makes it so effective is it's such a mundane horror. There's like real shit that happens to people.
Yeah.
And it's like that is, I think, a very important thing as well. I do think horror is at its most effective when it is staying rooted in things that are, if you're going in the fantastic route, just relatable enough, or otherwise, you can stay fully grounded in reality and make something absolutely devastatingly will kill me emotionally.
Or you could drag everyone and do an existential dread.
That is. Existential dread is not quite fear response.
No, but like, it's. I still see that as like a valid type of horror because like the media itself is not what you're afraid of. It's the concepts it's picking up and throwing at you, right? Like Soma, like that is technically like just throwing you for an existential loop. And like the actual monsters that are chasing you aren't that scary.
Well, they're only scary if you can like look at them, but you can't look at them because then your screen goes wonky.
Yeah, so like,
you're more afraid of like losing progress when the electromagnetic radiation occurs.
Whether it's due to how they look or how the game works, not scary. But what is scary is when you realize that you are a machine this whole time, and the constant questioning of what that means and who you really are and all this other stuff, and then you as the player is sitting there and you start sort of thinking about that, like, what if my brain was copied and put into a machine, and what would happen if there were two of me, and would that be me? What would happen to my consciousness? Would I be able to go into the clone, or is the clone just a brand new person? Is that and you just start to spiral down into this horrific cycle.
Maybe a skill issue for other people. I have no such flaws. I have other flaws. This just isn't one of them.
Lavender Town noise.
Yeah, no, that's not a flaw. That's an existential fear of mine. A deep thing embedded in my unconscious.
You could definitely, which you could reasonably call a flaw.
Sure. Yeah, you can call it a flaw, I guess. I'm not existentially terrified of things in like an existential manner. Usually.
Other than Lavender Town, which you just said is an existential fear.
But I just said it's an existential threat to my continued mental well-being. We're talking about like existential concepts, like what happens during Soma. They don't scare me as much as they interest me.
Yeah.
On like a philosophical level.
I mean, I'm the same. I know that.
It will absolutely get some people.
Yeah, I know why that game is considered scary to the majority of people.
Less considered less scary than Amnesia, but more haunting.
Yes.
Which I do agree with. It is kind of stuck in my brain forever.
Yeah.
It's the specter of someone.
Oh god. Do I even bring those up?
Well, now you have to.
Always.
Creepypasta
games.
Okay, maybe we uncorked something from that.
I mean, the only one I know about is the Slenderman game. I mean, I also saw that when I was little, and it did encode a primal fear into me as well. But like, that's
fear of the woods.
Of the woods. Fear of the.
I think that's a healthy fear to have. Fear of the woods at night. I think that's healthy. I think that's a good fear to have.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm Sonic.exe. I mean, it's stupid, but it does exist.
I forget that was a creepypasta original.
Yeah.
I think you can play through Ben Drowned. I think you can technically do that. I think since the video has come out, that guy's like really. At least he's I think at one point has talked about the modding tools used to do that, so you can technically
make it happen.
You can technically do that.
You can, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know many creepypasta games.
It's okay. I'm talking more just generally the genre, because I know that it exploded a bit, and then similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, it derailed with a bunch of people making like their own version of it, and it just very much oversaturated it very quickly, and everyone was kind of like, I don't want to play these anymore. I guess that's a interesting theme of horror media, is that one good one comes out, they oversaturate the market with it. Nobody wants to watch it anymore. Or play it anymore.
It's almost like things aren't scary when you've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah. It will... I'm trying to think. There were so many of those horror movie sequels that were like crossovers, where it was literally like this silver screen monster versus this silver screen monster, and you're just like, oh god. I didn't realize we were Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, literally. Was that literally what it was like it devolved into? I think it was like, well, fucking. I think I saw like a bit of one ever, and it was like Nightmare on Elm Street. What's that guy's name?
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. I think it was like Freddy Krueger versus like Jason.
Yeah, that did happen as a movie.
I'm just like, oh wow.
I was thinking about like when people do that, because honestly, you give a community 2 of anything, and the power scalers will arrive, and then you
Yes,
can't
they
get rid of
will.
them. They're like ants.
I mean, like, it's one thing for like the community to do that, because that's just speculation and fun. It's an entirely different thing when Hollywood's like, I got a great movie idea.
I got a new movie plot.
So basically, there's this Freddy Krueger, except he's got huge spooks. That makes him serious spookers. A real set of spookers. Big old Tonhanger of spooks.
Massive the spook of Ankaloos.
The spook of Ankaloos.
Anyway, Cole, what are some bad horror games that were bad at the start and just got worse?
Bad horror games that are bad at the start just got worse. Well, most things that result from the FNAF craze.
I mean, like something original bad.
Something original bad. I actually don't know, man.
Hello, Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor. I don't think Hello Neighbor started bad though, because the early access, like the alpha build, was pretty okay.
Oh well, yeah, the alpha build was pretty okay, but if we're talking like a game that like if we're just looking at the game, not like the alpha beta versions before, just the game, like the fully released Hello Neighbor game, it sucks. It's not scary at all. It's terrible. And it's more upsetting because the alpha was good. And they just made it shit and then released the shit, and it's like, no, you did the opposite of how game design works.
I forgot Hello Neighbor was a game until now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's like even when the game was like good, I always felt it was kind of, I don't know, kind of forgettable.
I think Hello Neighbor never worked good necessarily as horror. I don't think it works good as being scary. I think it works good as like a bit of a stress, a bit of a mystery, a bit of a stealth.
Yeah.
But
puzzles.
Unless you're doing cinematic things like in that you are a barista and you're being stalked by a guy game, having just a guy as your antagonist.
Just a lad.
Especially because the neighbor, I think a part of this is also like the art style of Hello Neighbor is very normal, I guess. I feel like it's hard to convey things that are like properly terrifying when you kind of look like a Saturday morning cartoon.
I mean, if the Saturday morning cartoon still frames of the 2000s are anything to indicate, they absolutely could have done some shit with that.
Yeah, they could have. They got into the weeds, they chased the lore, they chased the notoriety that from around like the mystery, and like ended up delivering a generally unsatisfying product.
Yeah. Well, it's I feel like they fell into the trap, the same kind of trap that Scott Cawthon did with FNAF, where it's like the mystery became such a big part of everybody's investment in it that they made it. They either made the plot so complicated that you were never going to figure it out, or they made the actual game itself so complicated that you were never going to get to the end. and especially, and when you base your plot, horror or not, on a mystery, and you build the mystery up that much, no matter what the solution to that mystery is, it will be disappointing. Like, you're setting yourself up for absolute failure when you do that. And I think, I mean, from what I've heard, the ending of the official Hello Neighbor game sucked. Not even because of the build-up, just sucked.
It was just bad.
It was just bad, but like, even if they had an end to the mystery that was like, you know, the best end to the mystery it could have possibly been, in my mind, the entire hassle of the puzzles and the bullshit of that house you're in and the everything was not worth it.
House you're in.
Such
bullshit of the house you're in. That game, like the engine that game was running on, was not made for like platforming.
No, but like, and it's like they made it so hard to get to the end that once you got to the end, you were just glad it was over and you didn't care what the end was. And then when you got to the end, it was still bad. There wasn't even a chance for payoff. So yeah, I would say that was that's a pretty good example of a not so great spooky game. Poppy Playtime.
I don't know enough about Poppy Playtime to know if it's good or bad. I just know I have really negative feelings towards it.
Because of what it's done.
Yeah, it's
not because of what it is.
The first chapter of it was really good for what it was, because it was basically just introducing the concept of the game, and then it had a really good chase with the blue monster guy, and it was really cool. And then you got into the rest of the chapters and you're just kind of like, man, where am I? What's happening? Why am I here? And then the things chasing after you, it's because in chapter 1, you're getting chased by the blue guy, but you're getting chased by the blue guy through like a vent. So it's like, this isn't an open space. You are trapped in a vent with this thing. That's gonna scare anybody. Whereas in the rest of them, you're in like an open area, just running through an open area, and you're just kind of like, man, I'm not dying because this thing's getting me. I'm dying because I keep going the wrong way and it's annoying. You know, it's just, I don't know. They had something in the start, and then it's meh. It got kind of meh. I've the most recent things I've only watched because I watch a speedrunner called Astral Spiff a lot, and he was playing it to do the speedrunning thing that he does. So that's it. So. That one's not that great. Not as bad as Hello Neighbor in my opinion. Game wise, I'm pretty sure the people behind it tried to do NFT stuff, so that they've already gone down a rung in my book. But
they pissed their bed. Now they have to lay in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll bury them in their pissed bed.
Jesus.
If I can.
I think that'd be less effective.
You've dug your piss, now you lay on it.
You having a stroke over there, buddy? You okay?
No, I did that on purpose. Piss.
I had a stroke on purpose, you see.
You've pissed your grave, now you dig it.
Okay.
So we can make so many mixed metaphors with these.
You sure can.
That is true.
I watched a. I don't know if this is a horror reboot. I think it's more like a continuation. Yeah, but it was like a recent continuation of Halloween, the movies with the Michael Myers guy. And like I had never watched the Halloween movies. This was not a good introduction to them. I barely understood what was going on. But one thing in that movie that I objectively think was the dumbest thing that you could ever do in a horror movie is basically they had Michael Myers is killing people. He's running around killing people, doing his thing, right? And the whole town gets together to kill this fucker. Right? Like they're sick of his shit. And I don't exactly remember how, but they end up killing him. Like they end up like he's on the ground, he's bleeding out, he's dying, you know? And there's this whole moment of everyone going, finally, we're not going to be terrorized by this fucker anymore. We're good. And then the end of the movie tries to have this like speech go on about like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then he just gets back up and starts stabbing people again. And you're just like, and that's how the movie ends. That's how the movie ends. And it's just like, you had all that buildup, that moment of triumph, and then you just made it useless. Like, listen, if you're gonna end the horror movie on a "we did it, we beat the monster" note, don't continue that with "oh, but you didn't though, lol." It's just stupid. I mean, like, you can technically get away with that, I guess, but like, make it a little more subtle. Don't just have the guy get up and start stabbing. It was dumb. It was a dumb movie. Like, again, I can't say too much on the plot overall because like I haven't watched any other Halloween movie. But yeah, that ending upset me. Oh.
You know, it's a weird. We brought it up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A weird cross with horror a lot of the time is like tension, like making a tense situation, but like not just tense but uncomfortable.
Yes.
Here's a good example of that.
What have you given me?
What the fuck is...
Clickle ding. According to the Steam store listeners, Clickle Ding is a dark incremental narrative game about thumbing a tally counter to satisfy the distressing masked man sitting in the corner of your hotel room. If you leave... Oh, you want to continue? We're popcorn reading?
Yeah, all right. Sorry, I was just excited.
No, you can do it. It's okay.
This is insane. If you leave, you won't get the money, and you can't come back. If you stay, you won't be the same, and neither will he. Features: lovingly detailed 3D tally counter. Polished, mature, one-sitting storytelling from the developers behind A Life Eater and El Paso Elsewhere. This is by Strange Scaffold!
Yeah.
I love these guys! Surreal encounter with the original Clickhold in a land beyond space and thought. Weird jazz from award-winning composer R.J. Lake, also known from Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator and Unbeatable. It also features a locked bathroom door. Mature content description. This game contains mature themes and imagery, including suggestive language and depiction of suicide.
It's the game itself is literally just you clicking a button and watching a counter go up, while another guy sitting across from you in a cuck chair just watches and talks to you with a gun.
Huh. Interesting.
And if that isn't the most uncomfortable thing you've ever seen, your money back guaranteed.
A lot of horror doesn't necessarily actually make you scared. It makes you tense or nervous or really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, this definitely succeeds in making you really, really uncomfortable.
My favorite part about all of this is that you can
So does
experience
Life
this discomfort for a whole $3.
You can, for a whole $3. Clickholding is one of their most recent games as well.
Oh my god.
I like the popular user-defined tags: psychological horror, sci-fi, sexual content, cute.
Oh my god.
Sure. While we're talking about String Scaffold, I think Life Eaters, I've not been able to play it, but from its description, which is a fantasy horror kidnapping simulator where you are making friends with people, getting to know their schedules, not even necessarily making friends with them, just getting to intimately know their schedules without them being aware of you, kidnapping them, and then sacrificing them to a god you aren't sure really exists to delay the end of the world. You are the horror in that game, and the horror of the game that makes you deeply uncomfortable is watching the intimate details of all these people's lives, and they don't know you're doing it.
Wow.
If you're doing good at your, job.
Of course. There's a game we haven't talked about.
What is it?
Lethal Company.
Oh yeah.
Why is Lethal Company so terrifying? I think it does the environment really well. You're never comfortable anywhere.
No. I feel like Lethal Company is actually a really good example of comedy horror, because you usually play that game with friends. And so the getting chased by monsters and stuff is scary, but then you and your friends being stupid is funny.
Nothing is nearly as scary with friends.
Yes. But then the moment, because every time we've played it, at least, we always split up into at least 2 groups.
Yeah,
and the second you're
isolating yourselves when it's not necessary.
Yeah, and then the second your partner dies, you're like,
well, shit.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Isolating yourself voluntarily when you don't need to, and then eating shit for it adds to the horror element.
Yeah.
You're having such a fun, goofy time until someone dies viscerally in front of you.
Yeah.
And yet the funniest death will always be somebody going, don't worry, guys, I can make this jump, and then they just fall into the void.
I think one of our funniest deaths from when we've played, Alina, is when I tried to pull the bracken away from you so you'd have time to get out, and it killed us both anyway.
That was so funny. I remember there was one where it was me, I think you were there, but it was me, Shaki, and Aiden, and we were all trying to get across the scaffolding, and Aiden was like, I'm not good at this, and Shaki literally goes, don't worry, I got it, and then proceeds to jump and fall into the pit.
Yeah.
Just I don't think you got it, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, but Lethal Company's scary, but it's also funny. So that's a really good example of mixing the two. Because a lot of times a horror movie and or game will try to be funny and scary, and sometimes it's too scary to be funny, and sometimes it's too funny to be scary. So it's neat that Lethal Company found a balance.
It's a lethal company.
It's a lethal company. Oh, I think there's like, oh, what is it called? There is a game that I know of that basically, it's one of those games, it's similar to Doki Doki Literature Club, where it's like, it starts off like normal, and then it slowly gets...
security.
Yeah. And it is called... What is it called? It's called Let's Find Larry.
Yeah, he did that too.
I've never heard of this one.
Okay, so Let's Find Larry is essentially a game that starts off as like sort of like a video game version of Where's Waldo. Right? You're looking for Larry in this crowd of people, and you have this sort of like bird's eye view of everything. And you basically look for him by like spinning the section of the world around, and then taking your little magnifying glass and going, oh, well, there he is. He's in that crowd of people. And the game slowly sort of like Larry starts to talk to you, and he's like, why are you following me? Please stop.
And some other people show up.
Yeah, some other people show up, and they're like, we're trying to find this guy.
You seem really good at finding this guy, so
Yeah.
just keep finding him.
Yeah, but then we
Bitch. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Then we can get him.
They're not friendly.
No, they're not friendly at all. But at some point, Larry's basically cornered. And at this point, the game has devolved. Like, it started with, you know, bright colors, and there's a bunch of crowds of people.
It started off, you know, with Where's Waldo, and now it's better find Waldo.
Or else. Yeah. But, like, now all the environments are dark, and, like, there's nobody around, and they're decrepit and things. And you finally corner Larry, basically. And... these guys are like, okay, we got him. He's on the roof of this building. We need you to take the shot. They give you a sniper rifle. They literally give you a sniper rifle, and you shoot Larry, and he falls. And they're like, we know, like. Then Larry's like, please, I just want to be left alone. And these guys are like, cut the act. You're not Larry. We know who you really are. And then Larry just sort of like turns into a serial killer and kills everybody. And you're like,
classic Larry.
Well, here's the thing. It isn't Larry.
It isn't Larry. See, what basically happened to actual Larry is this guy killed him and took the skin of his face and is wearing it. But anyway, this is the part where the game actually like really throws you, right? Because this whole time you've been in a bird's eye view, right? You've been up away from everything happening. Larry finds a way to pull you down to the floor. And then you're just like where you have been looking from high up this whole time, and there's just this serial killer in the darkness somewhere, and you're like, hold on a minute. I'm supposed to
I want to get off of Larry's wild ride.
I was supposed to be in the sky. I don't want to be down here. Wait. And then Larry kills her. But yippee! Yippee! But like it's this it's a very interesting perspective change, because the game is basically it put you into a false sense of security by making it a Where's Waldo game, but it also pulled you into a false sense of security thinking that your only perspective was going to be away from everything happening. And now it's not. So I thought that one was a neat one. Fucked with a lot of stuff.
And at the end of the game, he kills you and takes your face.
Yeah, now he's you. Ooh.
He is no longer Larry. He is...
Insert
You.
player name here.
You do find, like, news clippings? I think between each stage, there's, like, a newspaper that, like, basically starts giving you hints about what's actually going on before the reveal happens.
Yeah. That they do have that. And that's also fun. But yeah, trying to think if there's any other ones I know of.
I'm finished. I've got nothing left.
Nothing.
Brain empty.
Brain empty. I can't think of anything else. Petter?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think any of us have actually played Resident Evil.
No, but I've seen
No.
playthroughs of it. Not
When
the
I watched
original
the
one. but-
real-time fandub of Resident Evil.
You know, I don't know if that's a good reference.
So you're telling me they don't go inside Floppy Feet's mind and
No.
discover, like, his hidden repressed sexuality?
No. No,
In
that's...
Resident, they don't do that?
No.
There's not, like, an evil librarian
No.
with no object permanence following them around?
Where'd she go? No. No, that's all improvised, made up on the spot. It's not in the actual game.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add either. So,
Yay! I guess that's
Baba
it.
Bowie. That's soundboard's broken.
Oh. Do I have anything? Not really. I've got crazy Discord notification and no God please no. So woo, ending noise. Baba Booey.
Jump scare.
Jump scare.
I'm too tired to do.
Just say jump scare.
It's fine. It's fine. We already did the jump scare. I said jump scare.
Yeah, jump scare.
Ah.
Ah.
Ah.